And welcome to the January 27th, 2026 meeting of the Lewis and Clark County Commission. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to encourage you all to sign on our guest register on the other side of the bar, leaving your contact information as well. And there is an agenda for today's meeting there that you may have. I'd like to introduce the folks on this side over here, starting with Brandi Grande, who is our recording secretary. Commissioner Andy Hunthausen to my left. I'm Tom Rolfe, chair of the commission, and to my right is Commissioner Candace Payne. Nico Hash and TJ Murphy join us from the county attorney's office, trying to keep us within the proper bounds. And Roger Baltz is our chief administrative officer. This morning we have a consent action item. Mr. Baltz, would you like to present it?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I'll read it into the record for you to consider. It's item number 3A on the agenda, public meeting minutes from December 30th, 2025, and January 13 and January 15 of 2026. Staff recommends approval of that item. Thank you, Commissioners.
Is there any question from the Commission on this consent action item? Any question from the Commission? There being none, is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment? No, there being none, can we move to a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve consent action item 3A as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? There being none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving public meeting minutes from December 30, 25, January 13th and 15th, 26. Please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. The next item on our agenda is an action item. This is a resolution supporting the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. We've got Chris Averill here from the 250 Commission. And Chris, would you mind telling us a little bit about what's going on in the state, and then read the resolution for us?
Absolutely. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. My name is Chris Averill, Averill, and I chair the Montana 250th Commission. I'm also happy to chair the Lewis and Clark Helena Heritage Tourism Council and a resident of the Helena Valley, so I'm pleased to be here as a constituent as well. As Chair Rolfe mentioned, this is our 250th birthday as a nation, and we are truly excited about all the opportunities that this provides for Montanans and Americans to celebrate that, to reflect upon 250 years of history, and to do some good things this year. And in that vein, the Commission last month approved about $420,000 worth of grants to organizations across the state. We had received 84 applications totaling $2.4 million in requests, so you can tell there's excitement. And we had a limited budget, so we tried to spread that around. I'm pleased to announce that there were several awardees in the Helena area and Lewis and Clark County, including the Upper Blackfoot Valley Historical Society. They're looking to preserve some of their history in Lincoln, and they received an award from us. Also, the Orofino chapter of the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution. They've done a lot of great work in this area throughout the years, and we wanted to provide them with some funding to do some very great things to celebrate our nation this year. And also maybe a smaller known entity in this area, the Montana Masonic Foundation. They're working on a revolutionary Freemasonry project, and we thought it fitting to provide them with some resources. the Montana Jewish Project, which folks are aware of. They received money to record oral histories of Jewish Montanans, and a number of other agencies that are based here in Helena but have a statewide reach. And so one of the things that we engaged with MACO and the League of Cities and Towns last year is let's create a series of resolutions across the state that kind of declare counties as Montana 250 counties. And there's not a lot that goes along with that, but it's just a signal of support for celebrating our nation. And I'm pleased that the commission has decided to consider this. And so I'll read the resolution. I'm happy to answer questions about the 250th and all that work. But a resolution supporting the Montana 250 Commission for the United States Semiquincentennial, which is your challenge word for the week. Whereas the Montana legislature and governor created the Montana 250 Commission in 2023 to plan, encourage, develop, and coordinate the commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the United States and the role of Montana's people on the nation's past, present, and future. Whereas Montana 250 hopes to engage all Montanans, all 56 counties, and all 8 federally recognized tribal nations through their many signature and officially recognized programs, projects, and events throughout 2026 by inspiring future leaders and celebrating all Montanans' contributions to the nation. Whereas Montanans are frequently recognized for their patriotism and civic participation, and the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence is an occasion worthy of celebration, commemoration, reflection, and recognition. Resolved, Lewis and Clark County officially establishes itself as an official Montana 250 county and will promote Montana 250 programming, events, and projects throughout America's semi-quincentennial year. Resolved, Lewis and Clark County is excited to participate in celebrating America's 250th birthday. Resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Lewis and Clark County Legislative Delegation and Montana 250 Commission. Adopted by the Board of Commissioners of the County of Lewis and Clark, the state of Montana, this 27th day of January, 2026. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chris, for bringing this forward. Really appreciate it. I have taken a little executive privilege in an earlier meeting and will continue throughout the year, reminding us of events that were occurring 250 years ago that made the difference, not only changed our land, but changed the world. And we're going to do that. I just received a confirmation that a high school student here in the area has prepared for high school competition a speech about the Declaration of Independence. And getting close to the 4th of July, we're going to have him come and speak in front of us. So I think it'll be and present his competition speech. So we're in this wholeheartedly, and thank you very much for your support and the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any questions from the commission? Any questions from the commission? Is there any public comment? Any public comment? There may be none. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2026-8 supporting the Montana 250 Commission for the United States Semiquincentennial as presented by Mr. Averill.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Any discussion from the commission? There being none, we'll move to a vote. All those of supporting this resolution, supporting the Montana 250 Commission for the United States Semiquincentennial, as explained by Chris Averill, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on our agenda is a bid award for materials crushing. Dan Carlin.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. For the record, I am Dan Carlin, County Engineer. On January 13th of 2026, 3 bids were opened for the 2026 materials crushing project. This project consists of 40,000 tons of aggregate extraction and crushing to a 3/4 inch minus condition and 14,500 cubic yards of asphalt millings processed to a 1 1/4 inch minus condition at the Lewis and Clark County gravel pit. Funding for this project is from the road infrastructure budget. After review of bids, staff recommends awarding the contract to the low bidder, Montana Materials and Construction of Helena, Montana, for a total unit price bid amount of $247,480.00, and authorize the chair to sign all applicable contract documents. I can answer questions you may have.
Are there any questions from the commission? Any questions from the commission? Let's just take a quick minute for the benefit of the audience that give a quick rundown of our bid process and the fact that you've analyzed the bids just to make sure it qualifies and has all the components you need.
Sure, Mr. Chair, Commissioner. So we advertise these bids in compliance with state law. So they're advertised twice in the paper. They describe what the project is, when bids are due, when questions can be asked and answered, things of that nature. So that also prescribes the date of delivery or the bids are due, and then when they will be opened, which is always in this public meeting or one of these public meetings. They're opened here, they're read aloud. We then take them back to our offices at Public Works. We review them to make sure that all the bid items have been filled in, that the math all does what it's supposed to do. And then we also check to make sure the bid form is filled out, signed by the appropriate people. We check the bid bonds or bid security. Typically, it's a bond. Make sure those are all signed by the appropriate people. We review all of that. And then once we've done that, we can verify that each contractor is legitimate business in the state of Montana. And then we compile a bid tab and we post that on our website with the notice of intent to award as required by policy. And at that point, our cone of silence is lifted and we can answer questions from prospective bidders or people that had bid, I should say. Then we come back about 2 weeks later and bring it to you to propose an award to the apparent low bidder.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commission? Commissioner Payne.
Thank you. Dan, I just have one question. The material being crushed it's not for a particular project, it's for an inventory, so when you need it, it's ready to go. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne, that is absolutely correct. This is to stockpile material so we have it available for use as needed.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne asked my question.
All right. There being no other questions from the commissioners, is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment? There being none, may we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we award the bid to Montana Materials and Construction of Helena, Montana for $247,480.00 as presented by Mr. Carlin.
Second.
Is there any, we've got a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion on this item? Any discussion? No further discussion. We'll move to a vote. All those in favor of awarding the bid to Materials Crushing as explained by Dan Carlin, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on our agenda is Technical Assistance Award to Lewis and Clark County from the Advancing Pretrial Policy and Research. Pathways to Pretrial Advancements Program. Alyssa.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. My name is Alyssa Spees, and I'm the Criminal Justice Diversion Coordinator at Lewis and Clark County's Department of Criminal Justice Services. What you have in front of you is an acceptance for an application that we previously submitted in December. Just to give you a rundown of what the application was for, Advancing Pretrial Policy and Research is a collaborative multi-year project that promotes and facilitates advancements in pretrial justice. APPR previously issued a national call for localities, county, municipal, or tribal governments to apply for a valuable technical assistance opportunity. On January 20th, 2026, eight sites across the U.S. were chosen, one of which was Lewis and Clark County, to collaborate with experienced pretrial experts for 12 months to evaluate current pretrial systems and develop clear, actionable plans that promote progress and improve outcomes. By the end of the project period, each selected APPR site is expected to have a sustainable, high-functioning collaborative team that applies a data-driven approach to examining the pretrial justice system, to have objectively reviewed our current pretrial system, identified specific improvements to it, and developed an implementation strategy for these changes, and received information regarding potential research focused on pretrial improvements. APPR strategic planning opportunity offers Lewis and Clark County a valuable opportunity to access national pretrial experts to improve our pretrial system and develop a well-informed, evidence-based strategic plan. This will be led by the Citizens Advisory Committee, and it will be coordinated by CJS staff. Staff recommends approval.
I understand that there were very few of these awards that were offered nationwide. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so it was only 8 sites across the United States that were chosen for this opportunity.
That's wonderful. I see Mr. Cordingley is in the audience, and he's been in the middle of all of this good work for quite a while. Would you like to add anything?
Excuse me, I'd like to thank her for reading that whole thing.
I have to have you ask, give your name before you start. Sorry about that.
I won't start. That was Tom Cordingley, Cordingley. I'm the chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee. We thought this would be a great opportunity to improve what we already have. And I believe one of the reasons we got this was because they could use some of our expertise. Granted, that sounds snobby, but I believe that's true. So we can work together and improve both theirs and our system.
Do you have an anticipation of what dollar and time this is going to involve?
Well, so far it hasn't cost us a dime, and I believe they're footing the entire bill, including coming out here and seeing what we have and maybe us going somewhere else and meeting with other people in the same situation.
All right. Anything else you all like to add?
I approve this.
Yeah.
I hope you do.
Wonderful. Any questions from the commission?
Thank you, commissioners.
All right. Any questions from the commission? This is exciting. It really is to think that Lewis and Clark County gets this kind of attention and help, and be able to cross-pollinate with other successful programs that are in a very new way to deal with folks with mental illness and drug and addiction problems. And this is exciting. Is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment? There being none, well, let's talk about a vote. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the Technical Assistance Award to Lewis and Clark County from the Advancing Pretrial Policy and Research, APPR, Pathways to Pretrial Advancement Programs as presented to the Commission.
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Commissioner Hunhouse.
I didn't have any questions, but I did have a comment. And as you said, and I don't want to repeat all that you said, but I totally agree with it. This is a great opportunity and a great honor. I mean, it's a big deal. So I commend our staff as well as our Citizen Advisory Committee for their great work. Just being considered for this on a state or a nationwide competitive process is pretty impressive. So we're doing something right, but there's always things to learn, and we have both an opportunity, as was said, I think, to assess where we are in our progress and our program, and then learn from others and learn from the assistance of these experts that will be coming to share their wisdom with us. And as Mr. Cordingley said, we may have some wisdom to impart on others around the country. So I think part of what may happen is that these 8 selected sites will share in some of their successes and some of their challenges, and we'll learn from each other. It'll be a great opportunity, and I think that it just speaks highly to our process. Since 2018, the citizens of our county chose to vote for this type of program. We knew that we were going to have a criminal justice services department, and pretrial services part of that. That gives our judges an alternative to just incarceration and or releasing on their own recognizance and hoping they show up. So this is an interim piece to that, and it hopefully takes some pressure off of our jail, but also really the end result is the outcomes. Are we helping people make different choices in our community, helping our system be more efficient and effective? And ultimately, that is a benefit to our citizens and those that have invested in this program through their taxes. So I'm excited. I'm grateful for the work that our staff has done. I think we have a wonderful team. And of course, Mr. Cordingley and his team that serves us on a volunteer basis. They've really hung in there and done a lot. So appreciate the work and looking forward to being part of the team this year. I think it's my turn to get to be on the crew. All right. Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
It just occurred to me, and I'm not sure if it's a question or not, but generally, when we approve something, it has to do with money, how things get paid for. There's not a word in here about what budget this will come out of, if it will impact the budget of the CJCS, or, I mean, is there, this just comes out of the general funding for this project? Is that your understanding?
Mhm.
Andy?
We might ask, go ahead.
Yes.
Yes.
State your name.
Alyssa Spees, for the record, and this will be no cost to criminal justice services, and it will be 1 year. So it'll be February 26th to January 27th. Does that answer your question, Commissioner?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, yeah, essentially this is applying for this service, and once awarded, it's a free benefit to the county. Of course, there'll be some staff time and those kinds of things, but that is all time when they're enhancing their skills and sharing their knowledge. So this is a great award with no cost to the county.
I'd just like to, once again, recognize the work Commissioner Hunthausen and Tom Cordingley have spent years working on helping us develop this system and to help keep people out of jail when we can, and help them get turned around and on a good path, deal with their any mental illness or addiction problems. A whole new thing. This is groundbreaking activity nationwide, and thank you to you two and to many other people in our community who saw the light a long time ago and are making to make a difference here.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I just wanted to add one little thing. Commissioner Payne, you mentioned the general fund just a moment ago. I just wanted to remind the commissioners our criminal justice services operation is not funded by the general fund. It's funded through what's called an O&M levy, operations and maintenance levy, that our voters passed several years ago. And within that levy, there's a section for jail diversion and risk reduction of a little over $770,000 a year. So the way we fund this aspect of our operation is through that levy, and then any other grants and other programs that we can add to that levy to pursue jail diversion. So since you mentioned the general fund, Commissioner Payne, I just wanted to clarify that these operations are not funded by the general fund. They're funded through that levy. Just wanted to mention that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Baltz.
In response, Roger, I just thank you. I hear from constituents all the time about use of their tax dollars. And so we don't want to have a slippery slope of money being spent so yeah, that's right. We have a specific pot that this money comes from, and it's carefully administered by the people who run these programs. And I appreciate that, but I think this is an important point of discussion just to make sure that people understand that this is not some, general fund, oh, well, we've got plenty of money, let's spend it. No, this is carefully thought out. So thank you for your explanation, Roger.
All right. So any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion on the motion? We'll move to a vote. All those in favor of the Technical Assistance Award to Lewis and Clark County from the Advanced Pretrial Policy and Research APPR Pathways to Pretrial Advancement Program, as explained by Alyssa Spees and Mr. Baltz and Mr. Cordingley and Commissioner Hunthausen, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Hey,
Thank you.
just wanted to point out, we've got a voice in the background that doesn't get to vote.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to a request for comments on a court-ordered division for the estates of Gary and Yvonne Huvestal. Crystal Ness.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. Crystal Ness, Development Services Supervisor for the county. This morning before you, you have the ability to provide comments to the court on a court-ordered division for the estates of Gary and Yvonne Huvestal. Both of these folks passed within 5 days of each other back in 2022. Their heirs have requested the court divide property of the estate. We're going to go through that in a little bit more detail. So right now I'm going to take us to where the property is located. So we're headed to Lincoln Road. Get my car on the tracks here. As you all know or don't know, Gary Huvestal was a very successful horse breeder. He had an absolutely beautiful piece of property here on the corner of Green Meadow Drive and Lincoln Road. This is one of the parcels. It extends down into here, and this is the other parcel that currently belong to the estate that we've been asked to provide comment on. I'm going to give us a little bit of imagery here. A lot of this property is agricultural in nature. They have a number of fields where they raised alfalfa. They have irrigation that comes from Silver Creek Diversion, comes under Lincoln Road and provides agricultural water to some of these properties. They also have a very large agricultural well on one of these lots that in addition provides water. This large lot that we have here currently has one small house located on it. That's part of the division that we're going to be looking at. This piece here, which is a little over 40 acres, contains a large house and 2 smaller houses. The estate has requested that the court divide both of these parcels into 4 separate pieces. If you read the brief and my staff report, a lot of these parcels are going to be sold for inheritance tax. So currently, this is the current survey that shows both of these parcels. Lot 5A1 is currently 173 acres, most of it which is agricultural in nature, but does have that little house that's located here. Tract B1 is 40.77 acres and has the 3 houses located on it. The first lot that we're going to be looking at this morning is the 40-acre piece. The heirs have proposed to divide off the big house, which is here, with a buffer to be around it, which is going to exist on the 32-acre piece. And then we have these 2 smaller lots that are being created that encompass both of those 2 older houses. One of these houses was built in 1981. One of these houses has been here since 1920. This larger house was built in 2022. The other piece that we have, which is mostly consisting of agricultural ground, except for this smaller piece that they'd like to divide off. I believe they're giving this to one of the longtime employees of Gary Hoovestall that's lived out on the property for a number of years. And then we're going to end up with 2 larger agricultural tracts and then a smaller tract. 76-3201-3 allows the county commissioners to comment to the court on any proposed court order division. They have also proposed through this division to divide a piece of property that is not part of the estate. See if I can find where my friend the mouse is here. Can anybody see it? So one of the last survey that I've attached to your packet is for the division of what is tract parcel 2, which is lot 2 of the Rawhide Minor subdivision. This is actually, in fact, currently owned by Palmer Hoovestall and his wife, Shelley. But they have asked the court to divide this property into 2 pieces, a 1.82 acre lot and then a 21 acre lot. My comments that I have put together for your review today talk about those things that we should recommend to the court that they put in their order of the division of this land. That the court's order should instruct the co-petitioners that they have to record a certified copy of the court's order. That will be recorded prior to the filing of the survey. The court's order should instruct the co-petitioner's certificate of survey is required to be prepared pursuant to the Montana Code Annotated and the administrative rules of Montana, possibly providing dedicated easements if necessary. A lot of the easements through this property existed on previous surveys. The court's order should instruct co-petitioners that new deeds would be required to be recorded with the certificate of survey, indicating the division of land and the ownership of these individual parcels. The court's order should instruct co-petitioners that their property should be addressed prior to development. So most of these properties only have address points where we've actually got structures. So part of it would have to be addressed relative to individual parcels once these are created. The court's order should instruct co-petitioners that their properties will be subject to additional approach permits from either Lewis and Clark County or the Montana Department of Transportation, depending on where they're seeking access to these new lots. The court's order should instruct the co-petitioners their properties are subject to the requirements of the Lewis and Clark County on-site wastewater treatment regulations. Court order divisions are exempt from both subdivision review and review by the Department of Environmental Quality for water, wastewater, and stormwater drainage, but they are subject to our local sanitary regulations relative to septic systems. I might also add that in the research that I did, all of these houses on this properties have septic systems that have been installed within the last 25 years. So the ones that were on the larger parcel or the 40-acre parcel, both of those septic systems were replaced at the point in time that they put in the new septic system for the new house. And then the court's order, I've requested that the court's order should instruct the co-petitioners that the parcel identified as belonging to Palmer and Shelley Hooverstall is not properly before the court for the division under this probate matter. That parcel is not owned by the estate and should not be part of the division of land that belongs to the estate. And I'm available for any questions you may have.
Any questions?
I have questions.
Commissioner Payne.
What a surprise. And I think the recommended comments will serve the purpose. But some of this stuff, as an attorney who did work on real estate issues, first of all, and maybe our friends in the county attorney's office have this all under control. According to the facts as provided, Mr. Palmer Hooverstall, Mrs. Hooverstall, Palmer's mom, died December 7th. The property in question was owned as joint tenants with rights of what? Yeah, survivorship. That's it. So, Mr. Hooverstall, good old Gary, he lived another, week?
5
And
days.
so, when Yvonne died, the property passed by, what do they call that, action of law, or it isn't necessarily done formally, but her property passed too. So why in the world did they have to then quit claim Gary and Yvonne's estates to each other to hold as joint tenants? This doesn't make sense, and I'm sure that it makes sense to people more learned than I, but I just question it.
Chairman, Commissioner Payne, the first paragraph of Palmer's brief describes that the properties were held as joint tenants, not as with the right of survivorship.
Oh, and of course, Mr. Palmer Hooverstall's statements are always fully factual. He didn't inadvertently leave off this one sort of phrase called with right of survivorship.
Chair
Yeah.
Rolfe and Commissioner, I'm just going to jump in right now.
I wished you would.
That was a guess, right? At this juncture for the county provides a comment on what's being proposed on the division and the effects that division is going to have. And we've treated this more or less as an educational component for the court and for the parties. I give the great example of someone might be proposing to have a lot that might not survive septic or might not survive DEQ. So as it relates to the probate matter and the nuances of that process, just to clarify, it's like we didn't do any research into that. It's not necessarily the purview of what the board is going to be doing here and providing the comment on what the impacts are of the proposed division. So to clarify about how that property was held or transferred, that was just a guess. So I want to clarify that. That was just a guess on my standpoint, but it's also not necessarily something that the board reviews is the estate process for our comment. Our comment is generally just to what the division of land is going to do.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner.
So just to follow up on that, and to clarify that all of the matters of law or if the property can be transferred, split, whatever, that's all up to the court. Our job is just to provide comment that if the court chooses to divide this property, here's our our recommendations that be considered. That's all we're doing today, right?
Chair Rolfe and Commissioners, yes. So, for example, Ms. Ness talked about one of your proposed comments is for providing easements. So as we see on this document, you do have a property that, if divided without an easement, wouldn't have access. So they're including in that an easement. So that's kind of the example of what the board does.
Okay.
I
Yes.
have another
Go ahead.
I'm not done yet. Make sure I'm understanding this correctly, Ms. Ness. The purpose of this statute is to allow the county commissioners to look at it and lay in, maybe their background and knowledge. And so I looked at the statute that this whole thing comes in under, and it is our old friend, the Montana Code annotated at 76.3.2012. And in 2011, it states that exemption for certain divisions of land, fees for examination of division, and then sub 1, unless the method of disposition is adopted for the purpose of evading this chapter. And that causes me to think that if we see things that appear to be red flags, possibly inaccurate, for example, the ownership of the 2 lots belonging to the kids, one belongs to Palmer and his wife, and the other belongs to, I think, John. And they're trying to slip this in, and so it doesn't have to comply with the requirements of law, as if it were part of the heirs, or part of Gary and Yvonne's estate. And they're not. And that just seems to me to be sort of sneaking around behind the bushes to get away with something. And I appreciate the comment that you have suggested to the court that the part where the court's order, it's paragraph number 7, the court's order should instruct co-petitioners that the parcel identified as belonging to Palmer and Shelley Huvestall is not properly before the court for division under this probate matter. And I think there is another lot identified in Mr. Huvestall's exhibits. Oh, Lot 3A of the amended plat of the Rawhide Range Minor Subdivision appears to belong to John H. Huvestall. And that doesn't look to me like it belongs in the estate to be divided pursuant to Montana law.
Chair Payne, Commissioner,
Yes.
that lot is not part of this division.
Oh, good.
We're only looking at 5A and B1, and then the lot 2 that belongs to Palmer. Those are the only 3 lots that were proposed to be divided by this court order.
Okay.
That exhibit that you're looking at was simply an exhibit identifying all of the Huvestall holdings on the corner of Green Meadow and Lincoln Road.
I just love it when we've got such a good authority to guide us through this mess. Thank you, Crystal.
All right. Any other questions from the commission? Any other questions? Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? There being none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we make comments to the court related to this matter as recommended by our staff. The 7 recommendations for comment that have been already discussed and read into the record.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion by the commission? Any further discussion?
Chair, just to,
Commissioner
if I,
Henderson.
if I could, just an appreciation for the thoroughness and for our help understanding our direction and what our role is in this matter. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Any further discussion from the commission? There being none, we have a motion and a second. We'll move to a vote. All those in favor of the approving the request for comments on a court-ordered division of the estates of Gary and Yvonne Huvestal, as explained by Crystal Ness, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. All right. Now we have board appointment. Mr. Bowles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This is item 4E on your agenda today. This is a board appointment for the Forest Vale Historic Preservation Committee. You have the backup memo as a part of your packet today. The candidate you'll be discussing meets the qualifications for consideration of the board. This is a 5-member board. There are 2 vacancies on the board. Scott Falkowski applied. There were no other applicants. Staff recommends that the commission consider the applicant to a partial term that will expire August 31, 2027. Thank you very much.
All right. Any questions from the commission? Appears we have 1 vacancy left on this one, and we just want to take a minute and encourage people to take a look at the openings on our website about advisory committees that need people to serve on them. We'd like to have folks take a look and send in an application, which is also on our website. Is there any further discussion from the commission? Any question, Is there any public comment? Any public comment? There being none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the board appointment of Scott Falkowski to the Forest Vale Historic Preservation Committee as proposed by Roger Balls.
Second.
Is there any further discussion from the commission? Any further discussion? There being none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of appointing Scott Falkowski to the Forest Vale Historic Preservation Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. We've arrived at the end of our regular agenda for the day, but we always offer an opportunity at the end for public to make comment on anything under the jurisdiction, any matter that is within the jurisdiction of the commission, but not on today's agenda. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? There being none, we're adjourned.
Boy, you're pretty enthusiastic.